The world is literally a greener place than it was 20 years ago, and the data from NASA satellites has revealed a counterintuitive source for much of this new foliage: China and India. The satellite map that NASA tweeted on February 12, 2019 caused an international sensation. Data from NASA satellites shows that the Earth's green area increased by 518 million hectares in the past 20 years. A quarter of this increase was contributed by China.
中国的造林呢，在世界上是首屈一指的。我们现在人工林的保存面积现在已经到了10亿吨亩了。
Change is gradually taking place in every corner of China. Ma Yunping and Wang Changrong are native to Dorlun County in Inner Mongolia. These photos taken in 2000 are precious records of when they started planting trees to control desertification. On March the 20th, 2002, the worst sandstorm on record blanketed Beijing. Dorlun County was its main source. Situated 300 kilometers north of Beijing, Dorlun County was once abundant in water and lush grass. But in around the year 2000, its climate changed. Wind erosion turned 87% of the county into desert, making it the culprit of North China's worst sandstorms.
如果那会儿要不治呢，这沙丘逐渐扩大，就把草牧场已经盖的和耕地已经盖的不少了，就是逐渐扩大。要是不治呢，像我们就不可能在那地方生存了，也就是。
2000年的时候，这个地方生态环境是非常恶劣。全县的总土地面积的87%都是不同程度的沙化和水土流失。有一户人家，只要有一次沙尘暴，他们家是第二天早晨准开不开门，就是只能啥呢？勉强的推开漏个缝，完了拿铁锨把这个道铲开了。后来没办法，只有生态移民。
When the Beijing-Tianjin Sandstorm Source Control Project was launched in 2000, Ma Yunping and Wang Changrong were among the first group to combat desertification. Tree planting is an effective desertification deterrent. But as sandstorms generally bury newly planted seedlings, it requires endless energy and patience.
一开始吧，治沙确确实实没有经验。这3、4天之后呢，刮得溜干净。最后一到林业上一问呢，找林业局人力及技术局，他说必须在你这种沙漠地方，必须要打成6x6米的网格，因为你这个流沙，你就必须打上网格。结果一打网格呢，就能固定住这个东西。
After 8 years of laboring from dawn to dusk, glints of green appeared in the 250 hectares of desertified land they had contracted.
满山遍野都绿了，不像我一开始来那个漫漫黄沙那样了，一个寸寸草不生。
那还没种完呢，这沙漠上反正还得补栽，反正哪点能栽哪点栽。
哎，能栽一棵树就尽量栽上一棵树。
After 18 years of sustained efforts, the people of Dorlun arrested the moving sand dunes, and forest coverage increased from 6.8% to 37.9%, improving the eco-environment and shielding Beijing from sandstorms.
森林的蓄积量要在2005年的基础上，要净增加45亿立方米左右。那么2030年实现这个目标，应该是完全是有保证的。
Veteran forestry carbon sequestration and deforestation expert Wang Chuanfeng has worked in China's National Forestry and Grassland Administration for years. In 2015, he negotiated forestry issues on China's behalf at the Paris Climate Conference. He holds that China's annual new afforestation will act as a huge carbon sink, and that carbon sequestration will effect economic transformation and lead to higher incomes in desertified areas. "600 kilometers west of Dorlun County is the Shangli International Eco Demonstration Plot. It is the first carbon sequestration project under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change registered in Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. Carbon sequestration is a kind of virtual transaction whereby countries that emit large amounts of greenhouse gases or enterprises that cannot meet international emission reduction standards through technological innovation can offset their total carbon emissions by afforestation investments in other countries. In 2011, Zhao Chuanxiang left Mengniu Dairy and established Mengshu as part of his green effort towards ecological restoration and carbon sink development.
从我们生态修复工程以后，也成功的做了4万亩的圣乐国际碳汇林项目，以及3万亩的冬奥碳汇林项目。从我们整个的生态修复工程的角度来讲，以后我们大大小小做了以后将近上百个生态园林工程。
Shangli International Eco Demonstration Plot won international recognition at the 2015 Paris Climate Conference. Over the next 30 years, this project expects to absorb 220,000 tons of carbon dioxide. That's equivalent to the annual exhaust emissions of 147,000 cars. 160,000 tons of this amount have been subscribed by Warner Disney. In 2012, Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing municipalities and Hubei and Guangdong provinces launched pilot carbon trading schemes. 7 years later, the amount and intensity of carbon emissions within the pilot scope had decreased, proof of the role of the carbon trading market in controlling greenhouse gas emissions and promoting low carbon development.
看市场的越来越好，肯定我们这个生态的项目，碳汇的项目会越来越多，也同时也给我们企业带来的市场机会会越来越多，我们的业务量也会越来越大，所以呢，对我们肯定是一个非常利好的消息。
Essentially, a carbon market which is at the scale of China would be the largest carbon market in the world. So I remember being at the COP last year, where this was one of the most interesting topics for other countries to understand how at the scale of China an emission trading system could be working and how this could be potentially translating into policy measures in other countries that want to use similar policy measures.
Compared with forests, soil is the largest carbon sink on Earth. Modern mechanical agriculture has generated higher greenhouse gas emissions from cultivated lands, which exceed 30% of total human-related greenhouse gas emissions globally. In carbon economy terms, this is so-called high-carbon agriculture. Since 2009, 25 European countries have begun formulating or studying low-carbon agriculture strategies. China's low-carbon agriculture, meanwhile, has entered the fast lane of development.
We need an agriculture which is much greener, with much less use of pesticides and fertilizer and chemicals, and with a more natural-based agriculture, but in such a way that you produce more, get more better yields, more out of the soil, but doing it in a way closer to nature.
节能农业的概念的话，就是最主要的做法就是首先去减少它的排放，那么再下来就提高它的利用率。就比方说，我们减少这个化肥农药的使用量，实际上就是一个减排，也就是说这个减少排放。
Liu Tuan-Shou is a soil expert at Northwest Agriculture and Forestry University. After nearly 20 years of research, he and his team launched the circular development model of organic carbon sources-based eco-friendly agriculture in Tongchuan, Shanxi province. This is providing ideas for China's low-carbon agriculture.
铜川市做一个铜川模式，就是把铜川市域内的所有的天然有机废弃物、养殖的粪便、生产的秸秆这些东西、餐厨垃圾、加工的废渣，我们把它全部的无害化处理，然后再资源化利用，就是用我的技术的，作为肥料要投上里面去。因为加工成这种碳基氧肥料的话，它的效率是我们直接来当有机肥来使用的，它的效率是50倍，而且它是可以产水溶嘛，你很简单的把它吸进去了嘛。
我用了这以后，这苹果，你看，现在采个袋子，现在得采到8月，还不到8月底，现在已经都长到80左右了。这到10月20号左右采摘，这苹果大概就是100左右的，就是85、90、10的苹果，质量比去年还好，也上2年了。
Besides the Tongchuan model, China also looks to giant rice as a low-carbon agricultural mode. It's midsummer, and farmers are labouring in the fields under the scorching sun. In 2 months, these rice plants will be 2 metres high and heavy with ears of rice hanging on each of their 100 or more stems. Paddy field 3-dimensional comprehensive planting and breeding technology precludes the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and antibiotics.
我这个举行到啊，是吧？有利于这个低碳这个农业、开发农业，一个是它的这个生物量大，它吸收更多的二氧化碳，放出更多的氧气，减少二氧化碳的排放。再一个，它适合于这个遮阳结合。我遮阳结合，种水稻、养鱼、养青蛙，3样放在一块，我可以节约很多的电，水电，节约化肥，是吧？农药。 这也是节约很多的能量。
As a large, highly populated agricultural country, protecting the environment and feeding its 1.4 billion people drives China's development of low-carbon agriculture and emissions reduction. Positive results in the forestry, agriculture, construction and manufacturing sectors affirm the Chinese government's success in this regard.
是把这一块都切掉，全部切到梁中间吗？
这个啊，这个把边放下来，然后这个蒙住就蒙着。
上表面露一块，会进水的。这个密封效果不确定的。我意思是顺着这个梁子周边整个骨架一圈，把蒙皮去掉，然后顺着骨架的中缝对接。
Suan Hong is a designer at Brilliance Bus Company. She's been working on auto R&D for 16 years. This new energy bus is one of her designs.
新能源的发展，我认为这几年的速度是非常之快。企业从整车企业也好，改装车企业也好，有很多的车企都开始从事这个新能源汽车的一个制造工作。这其实也促进了一个技术的发展。
Suan Hong and her design team come to the manufacturing plant every day to check the performance of assembly line workers and identify and solve problems.
这款10.5米的纯电动公交车是我们公司首批量产的一个纯电动车型。这个车主要采用了一个全铝车身，较传统的钢车身的产品能轻1吨左右。然后我们整个的动力电池全部布置在后桥的后方，然后包括一些高压附件，全部都放在这个位置上，采用一个隔断与乘客区进行了一个分离。所有的高压就是与乘客区相对于完全隔绝，给乘客一个更安全的一个乘车环境。再就是我们整个的电池设计的高度离地都在1.2米以上，整车具有一个更好的一个涉水性能。
最早开始是汽油车，真的可以说是黑烟直冒那种的，而且噪音也特别的大。等我们更换了这个纯电动以后，明显感觉到就是车辆更环保了，而且动力也非常的充足。然后乘客呢对这个车的赞美也是有加的。然后这个车的空调也好，车辆的密封度也好，舒适度也好，平稳度也好，都是非常的棒的。我大概算过一下，1度电可以换出来3升油，肯定是比烧柴油要省得多得多得多。
Unlike traditionally fueled vehicles, zero-emission electric vehicles protect rather than pollute the environment.
车辆状况良好，车辆状况良好，明白。温泉关缝隙正常。
In recent years, China has endeavoured to reduce transportation emissions in efforts to construct low-carbon cities by leading the development of clean energy transportation systems. Rail transit is also becoming the choice of more and more cities.
就我们的低碳经济的发展，它可能也是人类文明史上也非常重大的事件。这个走下来可能也是一个伟大的这么一个历程。我们从小如果站到历史的高度和远度来看这个，中国承诺会认真去干，干了以后一定会得到世界的喝彩，这是应该没问题的，我非常有信心。
Which China is really moving to in terms of the principle of ecological civilization. It's really about a restructuring of the economy and changing the way we go about economic activity. So it's much more harmonious, much more integrated.
The China Accord is a commitment to plan and design cities, towns, developments and buildings in China to low-carbon or carbon-neutral standards. Since its signing in 2015, the world's largest developing country has embraced the net zero carbon concept, and its efforts have borne fruit. Guo Xianguang is a designer at Hebei Academy of Architectural Sciences. He and his colleagues recently completed the country's first energy-saving transformation project of old residential buildings. Passive low-energy and energy-saving buildings are considered the most energy-efficient forms of architecture. Their complex technologies improve thermal insulation and air tightness and use renewable energy to maintain a constant indoor temperature without AC units.
哎，你好，刘姐，你好，我们是这个回访一下咱们这个项目。
改造的好，最起码他们那个比那个冬天呢保温效果好了，比以前好了。夏天呢，它是不用开窗，屋里也是挺那个温度挺适应的。最起码我现在冬天不用交取暖费了，温度能达到21、22度，对于我们来说可以了，够了。自从这个改造以后，我才知道有个低碳，原来确实不太知道。
Guo Xianguang is encouraged and motivated by the satisfaction of the residents. In future, there will be passive energy-saving buildings in more communities. In June 2018, the Xiong'an New Area Citizen Service Centre opened to the public in Hebei Province. This unassuming campus is the area's very first construction project. It is also the first green building complex to use the Regional Comprehensive Energy System, an energy supply system that combines water source, ground source and air source heat pumps with wind energy, solar energy and other clean energy.
这里是雄安市民服务中心地下管廊的能源舱。我们中国节能提供的综合能源系统啊，就是通过这个能源舱800多米的管道，向16栋建筑或建筑群提供制冷和供暖的服务。
The underground system supplies cooling, heating and daily hot water energy to these 16 buildings. The centre's 5 host machines have replaced the AC units formerly installed in each room. In future, large numbers of buildings in Xiong'an New Area will adopt similar energy systems.
Indeed, urbanization will be one of the challenges for China from various perspectives, which I believe is already being considered. Key in this is how to build low carbon cities and how to promote low carbon development of cities and smart cities. In other words, when you decide how you construct, how you build infrastructure, what materials to use and how to do that, that will determine carbon emissions not just in the moment.
By 2020, China will have built at least 5,000 net zero or near net zero energy buildings covering 100 million square meters, in the process creating a 100 billion yuan scale industry. This will drive upgrading of the entire industry chain, from planning to building materials and from construction to logistics. The 2019 government work report listed the green supply chain as a key development project. In June of that year, Zhejiang province officially launched the normalized release of the Green Logistics Index on a regular basis. This is also the first provincial green logistics project in China, supported by the United Nations Development Programme.
So we as UNDP have been very proud to have been associated with the Zhejiang government on this green logistics project, and one of the first results that we are very proud of and this project should be proud of is the launch of the Green Logistics Index, which is what I'm here to do today. So this is aligned with our priority of supporting China's low carbon and green development priorities. And as you know, the logistics industry is one of the largest industries in the world as well as in China. It contributes 17% of the GDP, and Zhejiang government is also one of the largest in terms of this province in having a big logistics industries. So working with them to reduce the carbon emission that comes through the logistics industry and to increase the efficiency of the logistics industry here would have the dual benefits. It would contribute to better economic growth. It would contribute to balanced development in terms of reducing carbon emissions and having a better environment, and it will also increase the efficiency and the operational efficiency of the companies itself, contributing to our sustainable development goals.
37-year-old Cao Yuyan is a cool box dispatcher in the JD cold chain warehouse. In her 3 years of working here, she has witnessed firsthand, through constant improvements to cool boxes and ice bags, the rapid development of green logistics.
这种保温箱呢，可以回收，反复利用，然后，回收以后，我们从出库开始，到各个站点，由站点再统一收集，返回到我们这仓里头。我们把这里边的冰板已经化冻的然后全部掏出来，掏出来以后，再由我们冻好的冰板再次放进去。这样就可以2次使用了。我们现在站的温度是-24度。我左手边这个，大家看到这个冰袋，这是我们之前使用的冰袋，它是一次性使用的不可回收。这个是冰板它是由冷凝剂制成的化冻以后再回到咱们这个冷冻区进行2次冷冻它可以进行下一次使用。
June the 13th, 2019 was China's 7th National Low Carbon Day. Low carbon action to protect our blue sky is not just a printed slogan, but the aspiration of all Chinese people. From tree planting to Alipay Ant Forest contributions, waste power generation to garbage sorting, and green building to green logistics, there exists a vivid long-term low carbon campaign throughout China's 9.6 million square kilometers.
总体来讲，这个我们国家对应对气候变化的一些政策，包括最后你能达到什么样的水平，确实是取决于我们公众对这方面的认识。所以我们国家也采取很多措施，你包括我们设立低碳日，来集中的来宣传这个因气候变化可能带来的挑战，来鼓励大家采取这种低碳生活、低碳消费的行动，对吧？也介绍怎么样才能够为整个社会的低碳做出每一个人的贡献。
Et c'était vraiment impressionnant de voir ces centaines de magistrats, ils étaient des centaines, qui ont reçu les expériences que nous leur avons exposées et qui ont pu nous dire tout ce qui s'est fait ici, avec beaucoup de lois et surtout une traduction concrète. Donc pour répondre très précisément à votre question, même s'il reste toujours énormément de travail à faire, je constate un engagement très puissant à la fois du gouvernement et de la société tout entière dans la lutte contre les atteintes à l'environnement en général et particulièrement contre les émissions.
The Ministry of Ecology and Environment of China, representing unified management of China's environmental policies, plans and standards, was established in March 2018. Humans leave their carbon footprints wherever they go on the planet. A low-carbon life is our response to climate change, and it's also an opportunity for humankind's harmonious relationship with nature. Full implementation of the Paris Agreement and helping to build a community of shared future for humankind are China's solemn commitments to this blue planet.